Welcome everyone to our session presentation of the Green Index 3.0 and Dimension 7 of the Universal Standards for Social and Environmental Performance Management. And we're very pleased to be here today to give this official launching of the tools for environmental performance assessment standards for the green inclusive finance sector. And I'm very pleased to have this panel with me representing different stakeholders from the Green Inclusive Climate Smart Finance Action Group, Series, also representing the SPTF. We have Oikocredit as microfinance investment vehicle and Red Camif as a network of networks of microfinance institutions. So we have Davide Forcella, co-head of the Green Inclusive Finance Action Group and co-founder at Yapo Solutions, Mariona Le as environmental specialist at Series, and also representing today SPTF and presenting the Dimension 7, Yves Comaklo from Oikocredit, and representing the microfinance investment vehicles, and Alan Perez, project coordinator at Red Camif, representing the networks. We will have from each of you your perspectives towards these standards. We will start with Davide Forcella presenting the Green Index 3.0, then Mariona Le will continue with the Dimension 7. Then we will hear the perspectives from Oikocredit with the presentation from Yves, and then we will close with the presentation from Alan Perez on the perspectives of these tools in the Latin American microfinance sector. And for all of you, so if we can start with the presentation, Davide. We would like to give you an introduction about the Green Inclusive and Climate Smart Finance Action Group, which is a unique multi-stakeholder think tank for environmentally responsible inclusive finance. We pursue different objectives, which are discussing current challenges and strategies in the sector, improve the knowledge and action, enhance cooperation among stakeholders, increase international attention, develop dedicated tools as the one that we are going to see today, publish and disseminate these findings, and enhance the interest and commitment of stakeholders in green inclusive finance. We have more than 130 members affiliated to over 70 institutions, which are also organizing activities or subgroups, working groups. And here you can see a list of some of the members, and Davide and me coordinate the activities of the Green Inclusive and Climate Smart Finance Action Group. So with this introduction, let me give the floor now to Davide, and each person will have 10 minutes of presentation, and then we will go for a Q&A at the end.
Thanks a lot, Natalia, for this introduction. So pleased to be here to finally launch. I mean, we've been speaking so much, and we'll be already introducing and launching informally quite some time the Green Index 3.0. Now we have the occasion with European Microfinance Week to do it officially. So what's about the Green Index? So the Green Index per se is a tool to measure, to plan, and to improve environmental performance for financial service providers. Has been launched for the first time in 2014. By the Green Inclusive and Climate Smart Finance Action Group, and has been used and is proposed to be used to evaluate microfinance institutions, but also to raise awareness, to plan activities, to improve the performance, the environmental performance, to prioritize the activities, and then, of course, to monitor the progresses when you implement these activities. There are three key concepts behind the new Green Index 3.0. One is about vulnerability, the other is about adverse impact, and the last one is about economic opportunities. So behind each of them, there's clearly a description. So vulnerability, we mean how the client and institution are affected by the environment, or for example, the climate. By adverse environmental impact, we mean how clients and institution affect the environment. And by economic opportunities is how green products, technology, or practices can increase revenue for the final users. In vulnerability, there are various aspects. As you can imagine, clearly we speak about climate change vulnerability, but we speak about also vulnerability to environmental degradation and biodiversity losses, energy poverty, lack of clean water and sanitation. In adverse environmental impact, we speak about greenhouse gas emission, air, water, soil pollution, deforestation, land degradation, storage, and use of chemicals. By inclusive finance, that basically is the concept that the Green Index 3.0 try to operationalize, is basically the connection between reducing vulnerability for end clients, reducing the adverse environmental impact they generate on the ecosystem, and support them to grab new or existing economic opportunities. Behind all that, there are two key elements. We speak about vulnerability, adverse environmental impact, as well as opportunity at two levels. One is indirect for the institution. That means at the level of clients. Yeah, for example, the adverse impact the clients has on the ecosystem, or the vulnerability, how clients are affected, for example, by climate change. And then we speak about direct. Direct is how the institution per se or his human resources affect the ecosystem, like use of water, paper, energy, etc., or how the institution, like branches and headquarters, could be affected directly by climate events, like, for example, floods. So, this already said, these are the origin. We went quite through a long path. Marion will tell us something more on the broad context, but the Green Index per se, we start 2014 for the first version. It then already evolved in 2016, basically after 2 years of use in a version 2.0. By the main changes were incorporating the lesson learned in the 2 years use, some feedback from around 80 microfinance institutions that told us which kind of indicators are useful or not for them for decision making and make sense and are easy to use. And then including for the first time quantitative components in addition to the qualitative one. For example, how many green loans your institution has disbursed. That was a clear request by microfinance institution in general. In the 2 version already, the Green Index was integrated as a dimension 7 in the SPI4 series. And then in 2020, we started a long laboratory where I would like to show you a couple of key things we have been doing to develop the Green Index 3.0. First of all, there are a couple of news. One is the inclusion or the prominent inclusion of the aspect of vulnerability. Yeah, thinking about green inclusive finance, not only to reduce impact on ecosystem and generate economic opportunity, but also as prominently to generate resiliencies for vulnerable population. We include a lesson learned from more than 1,000 assessments, 6 years of use, and around 300 plus stakeholder input. Other 2 key news are the alignment with international initiative and standard. That I think is a main one that took us quite busy last year and this year to ensure that we still speak the language of MFIs, but at the same time we allow them, to be aligned with existing and forthcoming regulation and standard. As well, last but not least, we will hear more, work together with our friends from the SPTF and Series to, for the first time, develop finally the dimension 7, so the environmental performance within the social universal standard for social and environmental performance. These are quite some information. Let me show you 2 things. We base our development of the Green Index 3.0 on an original assessment, just to show you that it's quite an in-depth what we've been doing. That was the beginning of the year, where basically we've been asking through 3 surveys, also with the support of the FinDev, what are the elements that are needed for you, for FSPs, for investor, and for consultant, to correctly assess the environmental performance and make sense for decision making and follow up. We had more than 250 respondents and participants that allow us, to shape better the new Green Index 3.0, including what was the Green Index 2.0 before and what are the new dimensions like vulnerability, which kind of dimension and concept you want to have in. We have been then working quite extensively, thanks also to the support of Richard, an intern student in the action group, to scan around 70 plus initiative standard regulation to make sure that what we're going to do is aligned to what is required and under development. Here is just an example of initiative we've been reviewing. The result is when you will use the Green Index 3.0, and then as a consequence also the dimension 7 of universal standard for social and environmental performance, you can ensure that you're reporting also along the main standard and initiatives. So we do that to, to support the full sector to just fill one tool and report to many. Moreover, we have been lucky, also thanks to Marion, that share part of this original data. We heard the origin 2011. Collecting data from 2011 to 2019 was quite disparate, but we grabbed together around 1,250 environmental assessment and unified all under the existing framework Green Index 2.0, because the 3.0 was not existing, and make some analysis to be sure to know where the sector stayed, to then define, okay, what the Green Index 3.0 should do. Just on view, we could have a view of the distribution of score of the Green Index. We can do it per region, per legal status, compare the benchmark of some country compared to the overall assessment, having evolution per year, 2011, 2013, 2014, 2016, etc., and see how the sector evolved. And also collecting, I think, around 300 environmental assessment that add also quantitative information of many green loans and which amount. This will be part of a publication that we hopefully be able to deliver by the end of the year. So no worry if you don't get all this info, it's a lot of information. In addition, unfortunately, we were not able to integrate in this data analysis, but we were so lucky to be able to receive the analysis of Series and then also of MFR on additional 98 environmental assessment that was passing through the SPI4. As we said, the dimension 7 was already part of SPI4 since 2014. To see also there how the institution score when you do an audit, as well as we were working with MFR to look from 2007 to 2020, the various social rating that's been doing and check how the institution score in the environmental rating. So all that is material that is included to the Green Index 3.0. Let's see the Green Index 3.0, how it looks now. So it is composed of 4 standards, yeah? And let's look into the first standard. So the standard 0 is about environmental strategy definition and putting in place. It is about how environmental strategy is defined and how it is put in place, including the roles and the responsibility, the alignment with local and international standards, as described before, and how the institution monitors and reports on the implementation of its environmental strategy. So it's basically set the stage for action. The standard number 1 is about identifying environmental risk and opportunity. And here we go back to the concept I explained at the very beginning. So it is about how the institution ability to identify the vulnerability, as we described at the beginning, of the client's end portfolio and the institution itself, so indirect and direct. The negative environmental impacts generating on ecosystem by the client, indirect, and the institution itself, so direct. And the client needs and demand for green practice and technology, as well as the opportunity for the institution itself to transit toward a more sustainable practice, like having access to better conditions for line of credits, etc. The standard number 2 is about once you identify the risk and opportunity, how then you're going to manage it. Yeah, it is about the processes and tools in place to analyze and report and respond to the vulnerability, the negative environmental impacts, and the client demand and needs. So the 3 key concepts we described at the origin that are identified in the standard number 1. So it is about how the institution translates the vulnerability, negative environmental impacts, and demand and needs of the client into actual risk management, credit and products policy and offer. And the last but not least is about the product and services. So financial and non-financial product and services. So it is about the supply and delivery of green products and services to customer. Both financial and non-financial services are assessed. In financial, of course, we include green credits, but also insurance, savings, money transfer. In non-financial services, we include awareness raising, training, technical assistance, and partnership. Each standard has 2 essential practices in the Green Index 3.0, and here you just see what is inside. We will not go through for the sake of time, just observing, for example, that the green loans are recategorized into clean energy, energy efficiency, sustainable agriculture, forestry and livestock and fishery, clean water and sanitation, circular economy. So here you will have all the detail. Last thing I would like to say is that the structure of the Green Index allows to check about enablers and outreach. So we do not only look into what are the existing processes, yeah, but also if the institution has the capacity and tools to implement them. Yeah, enabler means is the institution trained to do what it's supposed to do, or does it develop partnership with specialized institutions that allow the institution to do what it's supposed to do? For example, identifying vulnerability. How are you sure you're able to do? What does it mean vulnerability? What you're supposed to do? Or is any specific partner that can allow you to do that? And tools. So again, let's take again the example. I want the institution claim that is identifying adverse impact on environment, like polluting water, soil, etc. Okay, which tool is used? Yeah? And then outreach. Outreach is about quantitative indicators that allow us, from one side, it allows to check basically the outcome of the processes that are in place, yeah, and then to understand what is the actual outreach of the institute. So does it only have an environmental product, for example, or it is really outreach in many? And then if you still have one the year after, just, you know, the solar panel credit products, and then are you progressing in the amount of loan disbursed or the quality? Last but not least, when you fill all that, you will have a vision like this. You probably are used to that. The only difference we will have with the dimension 7 is that in the Green Index 3.0, the answer are multiple choice. So you have a list. You can really select, not just say, do you have loans for solar energies, but which kind of solar energy are you supporting, for example. Once you fill all that, you generate a report along the standard. These allow you to have a model of improvement, understand what to do, to check what to do, act, and then plan for solution. Behind the Green Index 3.0, there is also the mind path of risk management. So you see, identification is about identifying the risk, analyze the risk, respond to the risk with processes, respond to the risk with product and services, and then monitor the risk evolution. There is also the path of opportunity management. So about identifying opportunities, develop product and services, provide product and services, and monitor the disbursing. Indeed, we offer, for example, a view also of the performance, not only along the standard, but also along risk management. So how good is the institution to manage vulnerability and identifying them, to manage, identify negative environmental impact, as well as how good is in the indirect risk, as well as the green opportunities. We can have a look through green financial product and non-financial product disburse, as well as the capacity to identify opportunity and then to monitor progresses. Last but not least, I'm almost there with a couple of minutes, I'm done. So we offer for the first time, thanks to the support, the technical support of EDERA, a digital tool. So we will have a digital tool, is already existing. So you can already access with scanning this tool or just clicking on this link. I've been already used extensively in 6 trainings, where basically the institution can link in and then fill the Green Index 3.0, a simplified version, or also the Dimension 7 version, in the future also the green part of the Alliance and other application. This tool, IT tool, is developed by EDERA, Natalia and myself conceptualize it, Alfonso Caiazzo developed it and programmed it, and it will be free available for everyone, will be posted on the Action Group website as soon as we have cleaned all the small bugs that could still be there. Last but not least, as said, we heard more from Natalia. You, together with our colleague from SPTF and Series, we developed together the Dimension 7, and now it's part of the universal standard. I just want to state that there are not 2 different concepts. Yeah, we will hear more in a second, but are fully aligned. What does it mean? The Green Index 3.0 provide a much more detailed view on details, while the Dimension 7 provide more a global view, and it allows institution to feel environmental performance at the same time. We're going to feel an assessment for social performance universal standard. And I think I would like to state, we want to simplify the life of everyone. So because now you see, we will have an additional tool to collect information at the level of Green Index 3.0, quantitative, etc. From this IT tool on the Action Group. We are ensuring with Atlas and Series that for all the institutions that allow us to share the data, we can share the data at the level of Dimension 7, so that wherever the institution is filling the data, any one of the other can have access to that, and so you can simplify your life. And if you did, for example, a Dimension 7 with Series, then you can do a Green Index 3.0 already knowing the result of Dimension 7. If you did the Green Index with, for example, with the Action Group, then when you go to Series, normally you already have filled the Dimension 7, you just need to fill the other dimension. Last things, what we did so far to roll out the Green Index 3.0, we've been already working since October, since it was finalized. We were so pleased to be able to already provide 3 trainings, including the SAM, the African Microfinance Week, including to the Foro Verde, together with our colleagues from Red Camif. It was a very nice event and very successful, and together with the colleague from the European Microfinance Network and MFC, thanks to the EASY European Commission program. We had more than 250 participants, was dedicated to FSPs. I think not all was FSPs, but the great majority. And while training, we also make people playing with the Green Index 3.0 to really practices, and 45 already filled the Green Index 3.0. We will look of the result in the next weeks. Moreover, we have some around 20 presentations. What next? Before giving the word to Marion, we are developing, and Red Camif is part of that and actually is initiator, a subgroup within the action group of networks to ensure the rollout to microfinance institutions, working with the network so that we can support the rollout of the Green Index to all their members, as well as with investors. Yeah, so how investors can get trained and engaged into the use of the Green Index. In preparation, we have training to, of course, the action group members that are the ones that support us to develop this tool, and we will allow them to train more and more. Training to investors, training to consultants and auditors at the level of Green Index 3.0. A series will do on the overall setup of the universal standard and the dimension 7, where we'll do the very detailed training on the Green Index 3.0, as well as certifying the auditors to the Green Index 3.0, and in the near future also support FSPs that want to get certified if they feel the Green Index 3.0. With that, I'm a bit over time as usual, but I think I gave you an idea of what we did. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much, Davide, for this very detailed introduction, but it's good to know and also to share about the work that has been done since the launching. And now Marion Ale will continue presenting the dimension 7, and afterwards we will go with Yves.
Thanks, Natalia. Hi, everybody. So I'm very pleased to join this panel here on behalf of Series and SPTF. And I'll be introducing quite briefly the dimension 7 of the universal standards. So as many of you know, actually the SPTF and Series and their partners, we have been working on revising the universal standards for social performance management. And in this process, one of the big, is it working? Yeah, one of the big changes that will come in the new version to be released in early 2022 is that the USSEPM are becoming the USSEPM, so including also the environmental performance management into the universal standards as a 7th dimension, as David had said. I just wanted to provide a brief historical overview of this process, how we arrived today to this integration of the environmental performance component. To have in mind that we started, when I started my PhD on this topic of microfinance and the environmental bottom line back in 2009, there were a few initiatives in this area, but still quite limited and isolated. And around that time, there was a big focus on the social performance management, and that's when the first version of the standards came out in 2012. So at that time, the link between social and environmental dimension was not yet fully understood and connected in the sector. There were other concerns regarding the balance between financial and social performance that still had to be addressed in the sector. But little by little, as there was more initiatives and as the sector has been getting more mature, we saw that there was a growing interest in this environmental dimension, a better understanding of its connection with the other bottom line of the financial inclusion industry. And in 2016, when there was the second version of the Universal Standards for Social Performance Management, we already had discussions on what to do with this environmental component. And that's also the time when the action group came out with the second version of the Green Index. And it was then decided that it was a bit premature to have it as fully integrated as a mandatory standard for the USSEPM. but the decision was to make it an optional module in the SPI4 tool developed by Series. So that was a really good way still to better introduce the topic to the sector and start thinking about standards and essential practices around environmental performance management. And now we're reaching a new step, a new milestone, as Davide showed, with this integration of the environmental dimension as a specific standard. There was lots of discussions whether this environmental performance management should be integrated in the other dimensions of the standards or as a separate one. And so far, we have decided to leave it as a separate standard, to give it also more visibility and to make it more practical, more operational for FSPs who want to get into this topic. So, and as it is built, it provides also a type of roadmap for the institutions that want to go there. As Davide mentioned, we've been working very closely with the action group, and the tools, the Dimension 7, which will be also, of course, integrated in the new version of the SPI tool, is fully aligned with the Green Index, with some difference in terms of structuring. So we have made 3 standards instead of the 4 standards proposed in the Green Index, just because the Dimension 7 is going in less detail. As Davide said, it provides a more global overview. So we try to, we changed a little bit the structure, but in terms of content and in terms of the practices that you will see, they are exactly the same. They are really aligned. Just the Green Index allows you to go a bit further. So our vision here is that for institutions who are starting to be interested in this environmental performance dimension, they can probably start with the standard, the D7 standard. And for those which are quite advanced and want to go further, then they could use the Green Index tool. That can be a way to differentiate the use of the 2 tools. So maybe I won't go again in the details because the content is the same, just the way its structure is slightly different. What I can add though is that in the Dimension 7, we have it has been thought already as a dimension that also integrates some indicators related to the strategy, to the governance, to the responsible management of human resources, etc. So it gives you already some hint on how to integrate environmental performance management at these different levels. But we believe it's really important also to integrate this environmental performance management as part of your broader SPM strategy, because it really makes sense to see how within your global social strategy Dimension 1 you will integrate the environmental dimension, how in your governance you will also integrate this aspect, in how are you going to train your staff on this topic. And for the green products and services you will be designing, how are you going to make sure they are really client-centered? And how will you balance these environmental objectives with your social objectives and your financial bottom line? So it's also quite interesting as a financial service provider to integrate this environmental performance management into the broader SPM. And this is why SPTF and Series, we are now working, trying to define and offer for maybe some training session and to develop some specific tools to really help our network of SPM professionals to build their capacities related to this topic, so that they can then assist financial service providers who want to improve their environmental performance management. So that's something we will work in the coming months, and we hope at the beginning of next year to be able to provide already some training sessions or tools for this SPM professional network. And I'll stop here. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Marion. And as the host is saying, if you have any questions, you can post it on the chat, or we can have it also, so we can go through it at the end. And now we will have the presentation from Yves Komaklo, social investor manager in Oikocredit in West Africa.
Thank you, Natalia.
Is impact investor testimony.
Yeah.
So the floor
Thank
is
you, Natalia. And yeah, I think, yeah, I'm speaking for myself, but I'm sure that the colleagues in other MIVs, particularly in investment departments of other MIVs would have, are facing the same challenges that I'm facing. Next slide, please. And my objective is to take a step back and show that our FSP partners are seeing clients, or their clients are some of the most vulnerable populations. The low-income communities are some of the most vulnerable population, particularly in the terms in the climate change that we are facing today, which has been even more exacerbated by the COVID outbreak and also the different government measures, lockdown measures that have been put in place since last year. So, and it's not just the vulnerability aspects that we need to look at when we engage with our FSP partners. We also need to look at the adverse impact that those remote or rural communities have in their local environments, because we tend to leave out the right-hand side of my slide and to focus more on the vulnerability aspect. But over the course of our engagement with the Green Index, Green Inclusive Finance, Green Inclusive and Climate Smart, sorry, I need to take a step back. As a result of our engagement with our partners on the work for environmental assessment in addition to the social performance assessment, and over the past 18 months with the challenges that they've experienced with the COVID-related measures, we realized that we needed to look at both sides of I would say the environmental coin. So there's vulnerability and adverse impact. So for example, with likelihood of extreme events increasing and the intensity of those extreme events increasing, we see that more and more populations are at risk of those weather threats. And at the same time, the government will have much less resources available to support and protect those populations. And obviously these are affecting, for example, the capacity, and I'm moving to the middle box, the capacity of our partners, FSP partners, to actually roll out their program and improve financial inclusion levels in the developing countries. What I mean by that is, if you look at some sub-Saharan countries, for example, they have less than 20% of financial inclusion level. If those partners are even, if they have difficulties reaching to their clients or reaching out to new clients, the overall objective of the financial inclusion community would be much harder to reach. We also need a bit of education for our FSP and their clients to improve the use of appropriate pesticides, insecticides for those who are involved in agriculture, for less reliance on fossil fuel or wood charcoal, which is quite prevalent, particularly here in Africa. So there's really multi-level interventions that are required from us, the MIVs. Next slide, please. And obviously, those issues that are faced by our partners are obviously transversal. And even though I am focusing on the financial inclusion sector, obviously there are impacts from other sectors, and given the scope of climate change, it's clearly a cross-border issue. So the matter of poverty and vulnerability are affecting all of us, investors, donors, as well as our partners, FSPs, and their clients. Unfortunately, we know that the level of response from local governments at municipalities or central government, as well as the multilateral donors, has been slow and maybe I would say inadequate in their applications. And there has been a lot of talk from different parties to catalyze funding and enable private sector funding to come and enable a scale-up interventions into impact investment. But I think that the jury is still out as to the effectiveness of those catalyst funding. But it's important for us to join forces, at least at the MIV level, to leverage the work that we've been doing already in this field, which is why I think that it's great that this year's European Microfinance Week has given good space to GICF. And it's good that since Wednesday, we've been busy discussing those climate smart finance aspect. And it's also great that we are now linking the Green Index 3 and the Dimension 7 of the universal standards. I would build on Marion's point. I think it's great also that we are able to find linkages between that Dimension 7 and the former or the older dimensions. That will help us to give better support to our FSP partners as we now try to move beyond just awareness building, and we need to start implementing those good practices. An example of that is the microfinance for ecosystem-based adaptation, which was an initiative that has been facilitated by the UNEP, together with support from YAPU and others. And actually, that was the way I got involved in the whole assessment and development of the standard tools for environmental assessment, impact assessment. So I think we need to get more support to those cross-sectoral and industry standard development. I think that is very important for all of us to get involved. Next slide, please. Yeah, we have the process of this is my last slide, by the way. In the process of working together with other like-minded investors, such as BNP Paribas, Grameen Crédit Agricole, we've supported over the whole year, actually. I know that Davide mentioned that the launch of the Green Index 3.0 was last month, but I think that it has been a work in progress for more than a year. So, and a few of us have been involved in reviewing and giving feedback for the Green Index 3.0 and Dimension 7, and participating in the series of webinars organized by the Green Inclusive and Climate Smart Finance by the Action Group. And I think the only message I want to leave to my colleagues is join us in participating in the strengthening of the Green Index 3 and Dimension 7, and particularly in the rollout of those standards. And I think that it's one of the things that the latest initiative was to actually create a subgroup for investors in the action group. And I think that that's a good step for us to take moving forward. Back to you, David, Natalia.
Yeah, thank you very much, Yves, for this presentation. Now we will continue with Alan Perez from Red Camif, and we will have 5 minutes questions, reducing it due to the delay that we had. But also, if you have questions, don't hesitate to post it in the chat. Alan, you can now share your screen.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Just a minute. Just 1 minute, okay. Okay, good evening, hi, hello everyone, and thank you, Natalia, for this opportunity. What I want to present is a short, very short presentation of what for us, for Red Camif, like a regional network, are the opportunities to use the green index in the region, and also with the microfinance that are part of the network. Just a quickly presentation of what is Red Camif. Red Camif is a regional microfinance network in Central America. We represent 7 microfinance nationals networks, one from each country in Central America and also in Dominican Republic, and at the same time they represent 133 microfinance institutions. Those institutions, they serve 1.5 million clients in the regions. And also you will see a small and very results that we have been doing in terms of the promotion of the green finance and the water sanitation approach. Right now, we are supporting 34 microfinance institutions that are implementing financial products, technical assistance, non-financial services to the clients that are implementing best environmental practices, that are implementing renewable, eco-friendly technologies, are implementing wash facilities, and so on. And also you will see some of the example of practices and technologies that we are already promoting in the region. So just a little context, Red Camif has a lot of experience promoting the social performance in Central America. Also, we are a reference in the region promoting the social performance. You will see the numbers of institutions. These are a little example that we have been doing in the last 3 years in alliance with the FRICAC in the region. And you'll see that we are promoting social audits, the client protection assessments, and so on. And also our experience promoting the social performance agenda. We have more than 15 years to work with SPTF promoting the social performance in the regions. And also we have a group of human resources, experts, and call centers that are being ready training in the different tools that are promoted by the SPTF in the region. So for us, what does mean the green index? It's an opportunity to go deep and increase the green finance approach in Central America. Like I said at the beginning, we have 34 microfinance institutions that are already working or implementing activities or initiatives related with the green finance approach. But we want to escalate, we want to increase and expand the concept at least to double in the next 3 years the number of microfinance that they want to do something related with the green finance. So we think that the green index gives us the opportunity to move fast and go beyond and with these promotions. And also the green index adds value to our work, promoting the green finance approach in the regions. Like I said, we are a reference in terms of the promotion of the social performance. We are a reference as well as promoting the green finance approach. And with the green index, we can escalate our role promoting these concepts. No? Also, for us, it's a powerful instrument to identify the gaps within the microfinance institution. And it's a good opportunity to identify potential projects and programs in order to increase the internal capacity of the clients, but of course, to foster the capacity of the clients in order to increase the their productive process, in order to improve the infrastructure, and so on. So, like I said at the beginning, RedCamif has a lot of experience also compiling and processing information about the microfinance sector in terms of financial, social indicators and impacts of the microfinance in the region. But using the Green Index is is coupling the part what we need in terms of more information. So we can consolidate our position as a referential information supplier in the region. And also what we see is that for microfinance institution is a powerful tool to escalate in the process. In the process, I mean, in the process to implement or to appropriate the concept or the green finance concept. It's a tool, okay, this tool has the possibility for the microfinance to evaluate the positions and what they want to do in the future. So we can apply the Green Index with microfinance that doesn't have any experience in terms of implement the green finance approach, or those institutions that are in an advanced role in order to evaluate how they've been doing the process or the implementation of the green finance approach. Also, like I said at the beginning as well, RedCamif has the human resources base with experience and knowledge using the tools promoted by SPTF. So we can use this base of human resources, experts, and so on, to spread in a coordinated, in a relative easy way to deploy an action in all the region. So we have the capacity to evaluate a good proportion of the 133 microfinance that are part of RedCamif, and the national networks. What else can I share is RedCamif will lead the subgroup to Latin American, to the region, and we want, like I said at the beginning, we want to promote the Green Index with our clients and also with the rest of the microfinance in the regions. I mean, in terms of the Latin American and the Caribbean as well. So this is it, and thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you, Alan, for your interventions and your inputs from RedCamif. We have 7 minutes now for open the floor to questions, and we have changed the modality of this session to webinar meeting so that we can hear you, see you as well, and interact better with the attendees of this session. So I see here, for instance, Jürgen, if you would like also to share about the work from SPTF, and I think you have commented it already in several sessions, but committing now to the environmental standards has been a huge step for SPTF. If you have some more words to share with the audience. Or from the others, or also my co-panelists, if there is any message that you missed that you would like still to share, you have here now the opportunity to do it.
I have many messages, but I don't want to take the the floor, so I leave the other reacts first. Jürgen said they cannot unmute. That's them.
Oh, wow, super. So no, thank you very much. No, I don't. I must say I only partially followed the session today, unfortunately, but so I don't want to repeat anything that was said. I think all I can again underline, and Yves said that as well, and I really appreciated those comments, I think our intention was very clear to prepare, to give our sector a coordinated work, something that, you know, where what we are doing fits together and basically looks, let's say, speaks about our issues in the same way. We managed to do that. So it was a great year of cooperation in the steering committee together with Series and SPTF and the action group. And now, yeah, we really look forward to implementing that and hopefully, you know, allowing to the sector to learn, improve practices. As you know, our real challenge is rather the increasing regulation that is coming on our sector as well. So what we're doing here, I think, is a great stop in that direction. So yeah, that's really just to add to that.
And yeah, maybe adding on that, I think what is very nice is that. Sorry. Natalia frozen, so I can keep on speaking. So what I think is very nice to the fact that this time we really having this two-layer of approach with the SPTF series and us is that allow, I think, from one side to really make environment exactly part of the social performance. It was not there before, so we don't need to push separately for that. So that is integrating into everyone looking to social performance. And for the action group or the environmental specialist or institutions that are very advanced, or institutions that are not really doing things social, but want to go also just on environment, to go much more in depth. So I really think that's very beneficial. The other thing I think is interesting is probably as His was saying, so we had we were so lucky to work with you guys on this coalition to really also think about, okay, we have various avenues now. One is how to roll it out, how to make it mainstream, how to make it normal, that everyone that thinks about inclusive finance also thinks to environment, vulnerability, etc. That's a huge work. We have probably 5 years to go to achieve it, let's say. And we have a big goal at international level, as we heard also in the plenary. The other is also to really to say, beyond being aware and being able to collect information and understand and improvement, is how do we facilitate and improve access to finance and technology for the institution that want to transit toward a more sustainable economy, society, and reduce vulnerability. I mean, not only auditing that, but easier access to capital, access to better capacity, all linkage to the performance in such a way that it will be the inclusive finance sector, but also beyond the banking sector, to make that transparent. How can be possible to refinance the portfolio that are green? This, I think, is the frontier. How can we make it easier to refinance portfolio that are green and make it easier to refine portfolio that are more resilient? Yeah, because that's also what a standard investor is looking to. You want to report that you're doing green things. You want to have more sound portfolio. And I think the Greenness 3.0, and together with all the action group members, we're really looking to do that. How we really make the transition.
As we have this close end or hard end at 4, I would like just to read the last comment so that for those that will listen to the recording, you have the chance also to know the opinions of our participants. From Isabel Bach, great to see the work trickling down to the investors and local and regional networks. The experience of SPTF, Series, and SMART has really benefited from this collective approach. I'm very excited to see how green is going to be embedded everywhere. And from Lucia Spaggiari from MFR, congratulations everyone. We've made a long way since 10 years ago, when you will remember that prevailing view was that MFIs could not be asked to do green too. That's very true. Things have evolved, and very glad to see these priorities items integrating so well. And now it's no question that there is a role for environment protection for microfinance institutions as well as for investors. One way to make it mainstream is to make it part of the definition of inclusive finance, the same way consumer protection, quality of services became more specifically part of that definition. And we can only echo this appeal. So with this, if just to close the last sentence from Isabel, inclusive finance, responsible green inclusive finance, or sustainable inclusive finance. So now with this, we have standards that will define the concepts that we will manage in the upcoming future. Thank you very much for your participation, and we invite you to join us to the plenary and also to follow up about our work.